CBA deal? The players don't want to agree to what the owners are proposing? Perfect. Grab Asia Wilson, grab Sabrina, grab Sophie, grab the superstar, the main attraction, Caitlin Clark, and let's start this league fresh. Get rid of all the old, bitter players that think they're entitled to something. Pay those 5 ladies and move on from scratch.
What you are hearing right now is not just anger or frustration. It is a fan finally saying what many others have been thinking but were afraid to admit. Start over. Tear everything down. Keep a small core of players and let the rest move on. That may sound extreme at first, but this idea is spreading fast among the fans who actually matter to the league right now. These are not longtime loyalists who feel attached to veterans simply because they have been around for years. These are new fans. They showed up when Caitlin Clark entered the league. They packed arenas, pushed attendance past 1.5 million, and turned regular season games into must-watch events. Their loyalty is not to history or seniority. Their loyalty is to the players who made them care in the first place. For years, WNBA players begged for attention. They wanted media coverage, respect, and better pay. Then Caitlin Clark arrived, and suddenly everything changed. The league finally broke into the mainstream. Sponsors paid attention. Networks saw value. Owners saw potential profit for the first time in decades. This was the moment the league had been waiting for. And what happened next shocked many fans. Instead of embracing the opportunity, league veterans appeared to push back. Owners came to the table with offers that would have been unthinkable just a year earlier. Minimum salaries jumping from around $60,000 to $250,000. Average pay climbing above $500,000. Top contracts reaching 7 figures. Revenue sharing increasing from 9% to 15%. From the owner's perspective, this was real compromise. But the Players Association rejected it. To understand how serious this is, you have to look at the bigger picture. For 25 years, the WNBA struggled financially. The league lost money almost every season and survived largely because the NBA covered those losses. There was no real leverage, no urgency from broadcasters, and no consistent fan base. Then April 2024 happened. Caitlin Clark was drafted. Almost overnight, the league gained something it never truly had before: bargaining power. Owners believed this was the time to strike a deal that benefited everyone and stabilized the future. Instead, negotiations stalled. Veteran leaders like Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier pushed for 30% revenue sharing before expenses. That detail matters. In the NBA, revenue sharing happens after expenses are paid. The WNBA, meanwhile, has not yet proven long-term profitability. Asking for a larger slice before the bills are even covered feels unrealistic to many observers, especially fans who just arrived. This is where frustration turns into anger. From the outside, it looks less like negotiation and more like self-sabotage. The league declared a moratorium after the sides failed to agree on a new collective bargaining agreement. Free agency froze. Teams could not plan rosters. Players refused to sign deals under the old system because they expected huge raises under the new one. Everything came to a standstill. Momentum died. Fans who filled Indiana Fever arenas do not care about contract language. Casual viewers are not following labor terms. They just want games, stars, and excitement. Every day the dispute drags on, interest fades. Now add another uncomfortable layer. Some of the same players leading negotiations are heavily involved in Unrivaled, the new 3-on-3 league that launched in early 2025. Breanna Stewart openly admitted managing Unrivaled business during the WNBA season was exhausting. Phone calls, emails, decisions piling up on top of games. That raises a fair question. Do these players truly want the WNBA to survive in its current form? Or would it be easier if it collapsed and cleared the path for something new? No one is saying this out loud, but fans are thinking it. The negotiating strategy feels less like compromise and more like brinkmanship. Almost as if burning the house down is an acceptable outcome. Meanwhile, fan interest tells a clear story. Caitlin Clark's debut drew over 2 million viewers. Her regular season games consistently passed 1 million. Indiana Fever tickets sold out everywhere. The moment she was no longer on the screen, ratings dropped sharply. Playoff numbers fell. The finals did fine, but nowhere near Clark-level attention. Unrivaled launched with heavy promotion and little buzz. The league had lightning in a bottle, and instead of protecting it, everyone involved is letting it slip away during a labor fight most fans do not understand and no longer care about. That is why you are hearing people say, lock them out, shut it down, start fresh. Not because they hate the sport, but because they feel betrayed by the people who are supposed to protect it. At this point, the WNBA is not fighting for fairness. It is fighting for survival. And the longer this standoff continues, the harder it will be to win back the audience that finally showed up. Let's be real about something that many people are pretending not to see. Right now, most fans do not want to watch anything that does not involve Caitlin Clark. It's not personal, and it's not disrespectful. It's just the truth. Games without her draw far less attention. The playoffs did not create real excitement. The finals came and went without much noise. People point to ratings, but those numbers were inflated and misleading. Casual viewers were not actually locked in. When you compare Caitlin Clark games, Indiana Fever games, and matchups that do not include her, the difference is obvious. One side has energy, buzz, and packed arenas. The other side feels quiet and ignored. That gap tells the real story. Here is the uncomfortable reality the Players Association does not want to admit. The fans who showed up in 2024 are not loyal WNBA fans yet. They are fans of individual players. They are Caitlin Clark fans. They are Angel Reese fans. Soon they will be Paige Buecher's fans. Their loyalty is to stars, not to the league's past. These fans do not feel connected to veterans who played long before 2024. They are not emotionally invested in Breanna Stewart's legacy or Nneka Ogwumike's contributions. They tuned in because they wanted to watch exciting rookies and fresh storylines. If those rookies disappeared tomorrow because the league collapsed over a labor dispute, most fans would simply follow those players elsewhere. They would watch overseas leagues. They would support Unrivaled. They would tune into the Big Three or any new format that featured the names they care about. That means the leverage many players believe they have does not actually exist. The real power sits with a very small group of marketable stars. Everyone else, whether they like it or not, is replaceable in the eyes of casual fans. From a business standpoint, the owners have already made serious concessions. At some point, it becomes reasonable to ask whether continuing this fight is worth it. That's why a drastic idea is being discussed more seriously than people realize. What if the owners simply said, enough? Imagine they void every contract, lock out the current roster, and start from scratch. It sounds extreme, but think it through carefully. You keep Caitlin Clark. You keep Angel Reese. You keep Paige Buecher's once she becomes eligible. You hold on to Cameron Brink, Rickea Jackson, maybe Sabrina Ionescu and Aya Wilson because they still bring mainstream interest. Everyone else is let go. Then you fill rosters with elite college players who are desperate for a professional opportunity. You sign international athletes who are already as good as or better than many current players. You pull talent from development leagues. Suddenly, you have a cheaper, younger, hungry group that wants to be there. Here's the uncomfortable part. The average fan probably would not notice much of a drop in quality. Some might even prefer it. There would be less drama, fewer social media complaints, no visible tension between rookies and veterans, just basketball and players people are excited to watch. Would the level of play decline slightly? Maybe. But the gap between top college talent and mid-level WNBA veterans is not as large as some believe. And let's be honest, fans in 2024 did not show up for perfect fundamentals. They showed up for personalities, rivalries, and emotional connection. Those things can be built with new players just as easily. Legally, this would be a mess. The union would sue. Public criticism would follow. But the owners have lost money for over 25 years. At some point, you have to ask what they are protecting. A league that cannot turn a profit? Relationships with players who refuse to compromise? Bad press for locking out athletes who just rejected deals that would have dramatically raised their pay? Here's why this matters. The owners are not in a lose-lose situation. If the league shuts down because players refuse a deal, the financial bleeding stops. If the owners start fresh, costs drop while star power remains. Either option is better than continuing to lose millions every year. The players who would suffer the most in this scenario are the veterans pushing hardest right now. Breanna Stewart is in her early 30s. Nneka Ogwumike is in her mid-30s. Their window to earn at a high level is closing fast. If the league folds or locks them out, they do not have time on their side. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and Paige Bueckers are in their early 20s. They have long careers ahead. They can wait out a lockout. They can play overseas. They can build massive personal brands online. They will be fine. So when you watch these negotiations, understand what's really happening. This is not just about fairness or respect. It is about a small group of veterans trying to maximize earnings at the end of their careers. Even if it risks burning everything down, they are betting the owners need them more than they need the league. But what if that bet is wrong? What if the numbers show the league only truly needs a handful of stars and a fresh start? What if rebuilding with younger players and lower salaries is actually the smartest move? That is the nuclear option no one wants to talk about publicly, but many are thinking about privately. Blow it up. Keep the stars. Remove the chaos. Try something new. So here's the real question. If the WNBA announced tomorrow that it was restarting with Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Paige Bueckers, and a group of replacement players, would you stop watching? Or would you feel relieved that the drama was finally over? Be honest. Most fans who arrived in 2024 would choose the second option. And if that's true, the Players Association has far less leverage than it believes.